let's get into it. You're from Philly and you take great pride in that, So, how did the Black experience and culture in your city shape your love for storytelling and influence your voice as a writer?
Well, number one, Philadelphia is one of the most tribal cities in the world.
Mm.
What do I mean by tribal? Blacks stick to blacks, Italians stick to Italians, Jews stick to Jews, Jamaicans stick to Jamaicans, Puerto Ricans stick to Puerto Ricans, Dominicans. We all have our cultures in Philly and we all proud of our individual cultures. Now, that doesn't say that none of the races mix some stuff, but
Mm.
it's one of those cities where we really into who we are as people. And so,
Mm.
of course, with me being black, I'm extra black because that's how Philadelphia is set up, where you're not gonna have too many black people coming out of Philadelphia
Yeah.
that don't know it and don't express it,
Right.
because the city will force you to accept who your people are.
Mm.
Whatever you are, they're gonna tell you that. You black, be black. You Puerto Rican, be Puerto Rican. You Italian, be Italian. You
Yeah.
Polish, be Polish. That's
That's
how
not like
Philadelphia is.
Chicago.
Yeah, that's how Philadelphia is. And so that influenced all the blackness that I have. So, I know I'm a lighter, skinned dude like you are, but I tell the dark skinned people, I'm the blackest light skinned person you ever met in your life. Boy. You come out of Philadelphia. So yeah, that Philadelphia definitely shapes, the cultural perspective that we have. And we got really strong personalities. So what you're
Mm.
going to see now, they're going to hate the whole Philadelphia celebration of the Eagles because we're very strong, passionate personalities. So they're not going to like the Eagle fan base because we're going to be in your face crazy with it. That's just how
Yeah.
we are. So that's just shaped the storytelling. And in West Philly, we had a movie theater called the Capitol Center at 52nd and Girard. It's on 52nd Street, but it's right off of Girard. And we used to walk up there from the bottom. I'm originally from 38th and Aspen. That's the bottom, right around the corner from the zoo in Philadelphia. And we would
Mm.
walk up from 38th to 52nd up Lancaster Avenue and then go to the movies. And we used to see triple features of kung fu movies. And then I'd memorize the scenes and come back using the kung fu moves. And I was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, hanging out with my uncles. And so
Yeah.
that's how I grew up in Philadelphia as a young storyteller. And once they knew I could memorize stuff and do voices, they was always introduce me to their friends to do stories for their older friends. And so I was always around old heads doing stories for them. And so I was real comfortable at it at a real young age.
So many, let's go to this. Many in my generation, because I'm 46. So many in my generation would consider you as one of the architects of urban literature, urban fiction. What does the title mean to you, and how do you define that genre as a whole?
I started calling black books urban. I was in DC coming out of Howard University. I have a degree in journalism, print journalism. That means newspapers, magazines, periodicals, online. I'm a print journalism dude. And I noticed, Kathy Hughes was down there with Radio One. Before Radio One, she was on WOL, which is the AM station.
Mm-hmm.
And, they started calling black radio urban. Now I
Mm-hmm.
grew up, you grew up, you probably you remember they called it black radio. They
Mm-hmm.
stopped doing that and started using the code word urban top 40, urban this, urban
Yeah.
soul, urban. So when they did that, I was like, of course we knew what it was. It's code lyric for black, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, you know what? They's calling it urban. I'm gonna call my books urban. And so I called my books urban classics. This is the early 90s. Nobody was using that term for books yet. It was just
Mm-hmm.
black books. So I started that and I said, all right, I'm gonna say urban. I put it on the book. I had Fly Girl in 93, Capital City, because I wrote about DC's drug territory in 94, because they called it the murder capital when I was still there. And so I
Mm-hmm.
wrote about that. And both of those books on the book is called Urban Classics, 93 and 94. And what happened was when I would promote them, I said, yeah, my urban classic, my urban. And I kept talking about it. And my books hit and got big. And then other people started saying urban. And then the jail people that were in jail, they started writing books. And theirs was a little, at least they called it harder because they talking about jail life and street life and gang life and all that. So they added the word street to it. So then it became urban street lit. I started the urban, they added the street to it, and then it just kept going and going. And so yeah, when they give me that credit, for people that don't know, I started that. For the people, who get it mixed up, it's a thing that I started. So when they say it, it's no big deal. But the other thing, they started calling me the godfather of urban lit. That was
Mm-hmm.
a cool term, the whole godfather thing. But yeah, it's just factual. So people that don't know that, if you hear it, you spread the word. Omar started that word urban. Everybody else picked up on it on the late 90s. I started in the early 90s because I was with journalism and doing radio, and they kept saying urban all the time. So I just stole that term and put it on books. As simple as that. And that's what I do. You take a term and put it somewhere else. That's what I did. I kept saying it, and then it picked up and took off.
Do you feel the publishing industry truly recognizes the significance of urban fiction in shaping Black literature today?
Well, the problem with that is once we started writing about, gang stories and jail stories and drug dealers and gold diggers, that's not our whole story. That's
Mm-hmm.
one facet of it. So I got a little kind of like peed off, like, yo, dude, I understand y'all got these stories, but when they started to dominate all of Black literature, that's a problem. Because now we got historical lit, we got relationship lit, we got science fiction, we got fantasy, we got mystery, we got thrillers, we got a whole lot of. So once urban street lit took over, where that's all we wanted to read, I found that as a problem because when I started it, I was reading everything else: Black science fiction, Black politics, Black. I wasn't just reading my stuff. So when people say, "Oh, I only read urban fiction, I only read street lit," I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 slow down. You need to read everything Black and not just the urban stuff." So I gotta, caution and pause with that and not go too heavy with all that. That's just one genre of Black experience, of the Black community. So I don't want us getting stuck on that. So I always had to come back and say, look, don't get stuck in that. Don't get stuck in that story. Because I'm older now, and I never called mine street because I was never on the street. I came from a family. I may be urban. I'm in an urban setting, but I'm in a house with a family. I'm not on the street. So I never
Mm-hmm.
used the street term, but I understand it. I get it. But I didn't want us going overboard with either one of them because we got a lot of different topics and facets of our community, and we shouldn't be overridden by the street lit and the urban stuff of young people. So I was always cautious with giving it too much. But yeah, we sold a lot of books and all that, but don't want to give it too much credit because we got other stuff that's going on in our community that's important as well.
Do you think that nowadays the diversity of the different genres in Black literature is important, including the diversity of being Black? Do you
It
think
been
it's
important.
important?
It been important. And it got worn out because of the popularity of street lit where we only want to write that. And then when Zane came out, Zane's a good friend of mine. When she came out with the sexual content, that also pulled people in a certain direction where they start feeling like, well, I gotta put more sex in my book for it to sell. So I wrote a book called What They Want, responding to Zane, like, all right, y'all want all this sex. So I wrote about a male model. That wasn't an urban street book. That's a regular, Black, culture book. And it was based in Atlanta, where this dude was doing all these women anytime, any place, anywhere, two and three. And I let people see this is ridiculous. This is what you want, like to do. And then he caught a lesson at the end. I'm not going to tell you what the lesson is, but he caught a lesson at the end and say, yo, all this just sleeping around. I mean, I'm a guy. I like sex like the next dude. Like, but I'm not going to put that on every page. I'm like, yo, dude, like, slow down with this. So sometimes the popularity of a genre can send everybody in that direction and get away from the diversity of all our different genres and stories. So
Mhm.
you can get dangerous with doing any of that because you chasing dollars and you chasing popularity.
If you could go back and one thing you could bring back from the earlier days of urban fiction, what would it be?
Earlier days of urban fiction,
Mm-hmm.
that's a hard question to answer because I don't think it really went anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is about adaptation and growth. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So I started there because I was young when I first wanted it, but I didn't stay there because the stories got older. The stories got wiser, the stories got more diverse. You know what I mean? So I went into a lot of different genres. So that question for me, what do I miss about urban? I don't miss anything urban. I'm wearing my Philadelphia stuff right now. I'm from one of the most urban cities so I never really lose anything urban. It's not like if you want to put it in the book, but I live urban. I'm in Charlotte now, which is not Philadelphia, but I love the urban city. I'm never away from her. I go to New York, urban. I go to DC, urban. I go to Atlanta, inside Atlanta, urban. Now it's still southern down Atlanta. It's really southern. But yeah, Baltimore, urban. Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago. So I haven't lost any of it. I don't need to have it in books because I'm urban in real life. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I walk these streets. I know these streets. I know these people. So I don't need to have it in literature. So I don't really miss that much from the literature perspective because I read it all. I got the stories on my cabinets. So you would have to ask somebody else that question, not me. I've been around dozens of urban. I'm still urban. I'm gonna be urban till I die. So I
Yeah.
don't miss the urban experience at all. I know it too well.
Do you think that like it's an ongoing discourse on social media? Because social media plays a big part of authors nowadays. It's not like it was when you can go to a mom and pop store. It's not like you can go to an African shop at the corner and get, your favorite book or whatever. Do you think there's this discourse about urban literature as a whole, saying that your book is urban, saying that you write urban, and then there's the discourse of don't call me urban because I'm black? Do you feel there is should be a discourse to that?
Nah, that that's silly. Don't call me urban. I'm black. You can go back to being a black writer, but either way, you're taking yourself out of just being a regular writer. You put in I'm black. I'm urban. I'm gay. I'm white. When you do that, instead of just saying a writer, you're already putting yourself in a pigeonhole. So whether you're fighting for being black or urban, now I did that because I wanted to represent for black people. But whenever you put an adjective on the front of whatever you're talking about, then
Mm-hmm.
that adjective now defines you. I'm black as a writer. I'm urban
Mm-hmm.
as a writer. So yeah, I used that urban term when I first started because I wanted to create my own lane, so to speak. But once
Mm-hmm.
that lane was created, now I'm like, I got that lane. I don't have to stay in it. I can jump
Yeah.
out my lane and go somewhere else now. So I don't
Yeah.
want the term now to lock me in, but I
Yeah.
built the term because it was a marketing thing. And so it works when you're marketing because if somebody asks you, well, what are your books? What would you call them? My books are urban. So now when he's used, okay, Omar calls his books urban. So now I got a name to call my books instead of saying, I don't know, they're just books. Because you don't want to say that. Now you have no direction. So,
Mm-hmm.
giving your books a title or a genre, it gives you direction, but you don't have to be stuck in that. Just because you write urban today don't mean you got to write urban tomorrow and urban
Mm-hmm.
5 years from now. You can move around and you can say, yeah, I work because I write every genre. I got relationship books, I got urban books, I got horror, I got sports books. You know what I mean? I got an Eagles book right now and I'm trying to get the deal done on. So I write all kinds of. Again, I'm a journalist. I'm not a crime journalist. I'm not an
Yeah.
educational journalist. I'm not a politics journalist. I do all of it. If you send me to a school, I got an educational story. If you send me to a basketball game, I'm gonna come back with a sports story. If you
Yeah.
send me to a political rally, I'm gonna come back. But I do all of it. Now, if you only
Mm-hmm.
can do one type, then you become what they call a compromise or diminished writer because you can't do everything. I can do everything. Nonfiction, fiction, poetry. So when you get to that level, you don't let one term define you because you do everything.
Do you think that street lit paved the way
For what?
for it to be a urban?
Street lit. Say, ask that question again.
I said, do you think street lit paved the way, like where Iceberg Slim, Donald Goins? Do you think they paved the way?
No. You got a
No.
guy by the name of Richard Wright
Mm-hmm.
that was way before them that blew up, and he's the godfather of serious black. And then you had dudes that had black newspapers back in
Mm-hmm.
the 1800s that was putting out stuff, you know what I mean, for black people, trying to get us educated and get us. So no,
Mm-hmm.
I understand. I love Iceberg Slim and them, but that they came in the 60s, and
Mm-hmm.
Iceberg, not Iceberg, Donald Goines came in the 70s. Iceberg was in the 50s and 60s. So I
Mm-hmm.
like Iceberg more. His stuff was more complicated. But
Yeah.
then you start talking about Richard Wright, you going back to the 1920s. You going
Mm-hmm.
back to the Harlem Renaissance era of the 20s with jazz music and all that when it first started. So again, we got to be tight on our history
Mm-hmm.
before we start saying stuff like that. So I know more than that. So yeah, I love Iceberg Slim and Donald Goines, but we had urban and black lit before that, way before
Mm-hmm.
that. You know what I mean? Like 40 years before them. So we got to watch what we say, when
Yeah.
we claiming that history and keep digging in the crates to get all the real details.
Yeah. I get you. I feel you. I learn something
It
new
didn't.
every
It did
day.
not pave the way. Even then, before I did my thing, Terry McMillan opened the doors with her
Mm.
relationship books. Now, if she didn't get in that door, my book wouldn't have got the play that it got because I was saying her name when I was selling. I'm gonna be the next Terry McMillan. My book gonna be how to Terry McMillan. Now, I wasn't trying to be. I'm a guy, so I wasn't trying to be Terry McMillan. But I wanted the sales figures. I wanted the popularity. So I was saying her name. This book gonna be how to Terry McMillan. Gonna be good. So no, Terry paved the way for the new stuff that we did, and then
Yeah.
I paved the way after Terry. But everybody will tell you that Terry opened up the gates for a whole lot of us because
Mm.
publishers wasn't checking for contemporary black books. They kept going back into the past. But if you
Yeah.
want to write about right now, Terry opened up the right now market.
Hmm.
So again, we got to know our research, we got to know the details, know the
Hmm.
facts, and I'm one of them people that's going to correct it when something wrong. I'm gonna say what's right. So no, Terry McMillan opened up, and then Richard Wright is the Godfather, and then we had black abolitionist newspapers. Okay, black people in the 1800s that were writing serious content for us, books, short stories, poetry back then, publishing it. Phyllis Wheatley was in slave days and had poetry and writing all the way back in the 1700s. So we got to get the facts right before we start talking, too off base about street lit and urban. Nah,
Hmm.
yeah, we got
Well,
to
that's
get the
good to
facts.
know because I like to be corrected and I like to know the information so I could go and tell people.
Yeah, yeah. So
So,
that's why I'm the old head. I got the gray beard now. I didn't
oh
put in my
my
stripes,
God.
put in my dues. Yeah, I didn't put in my dues as the old head in Philly. So yeah, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say the stuff that need to be corrected, and that's what an old head should do. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And if I'm wrong and I need to get corrected, okay, I'm gonna come back and correct that. You know what? So and so did this, so and so, because we
Yeah.
need to correct that history all the time. It ain't
Yeah.
about getting mad or what. It's about correcting the history so we don't say things that's incorrect to other people who then go take incorrect things and say it again and again. Then we have all this incorrect
Yeah.
information all over the place. So we always want to make sure we factual what we say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So many of us grew up reading Fly Girl and For the Love of Money. Uh
Boss Lady is the third one. I'm just writing the summary right now. People forgot about Boss Lady, where she brand her title and she start working on her own movie. Because I know everybody want to keep knowing about Boss Lady. She already went into it, so you can understand how hard it is to get authentic black content on the big screen, particularly if you don't have money people behind you. You got to have
mhm.
major sales. So if you're not buying a book and you talking about, oh, I'm waiting for the movie. If you waiting and you're not buying the book, ain't gonna be no movie because what you think the first question they asked me about book sales? What do you think the first question Hollywood asked me?
What's the first question?
I'm asking you, what do you think the question, the only question they
Your book
asked,
sales. How popular is your book?
not how popular, what you think they asked very specifically?
Mm, what's your book sales looking like?
Exactly. So when you got black people talking about, I'm waiting for the movie, well, why are you talking about buying a book? And I go out there and that's the only question they ask me. And then I'm going to say, well, black people love it. They just don't buy it. Well, you think that sounds good for a movie?
Absolutely not.
They love it, but they just don't buy it. So they thinking, what are they gonna do with the movie? They gonna wait for it to come on TV with the. So that it becomes a very, and I have to keep educating young people. It's
Hmm.
everything is about the numbers now. You guys are growing up in social, not you, but the younger people are
Hmm.
growing up with social media, where everything is a number. You open up social media, got a number on your page, a number on it. It's ridiculous now. So you ain't getting away from numbers. I can't get away from numbers either. So if you're not
Hmm.
doing the numbers, you can't even talk. But that's the dilemma we had. But the book Boss Lady, that's the third in the trilogy. You're gonna see that we promoting that on Friday. It's coming out this week. Well, it's already been out, but we got the new cover design. So we already revealed the new cover for Fly Girl. We
Hmm.
revealed the new cover for the Love of Money. Now we got Boss Lady, which a lot of y'all forgot. And I was just saying that in the summary, the Lost and Found trilogy of Fly Girl. That but folks fell off of that one and didn't read that one. And that one talks about branding. It talks about being a boss woman, and it talks about her doing her own film and all the complications of that. It's in the
Hmm.
book. Boss Lady has all the questions you want to ask about, the movie in the book because she deals with it. Because I know what those issues are, and she deals with them in the book as well.
How do you think social media has changed the way that authors engage with readers compared to when you first started?
Well, again, it's all about numbers. So now they can market on social media. I did physical marketing. I like
Mhm.
showing up at places, passing out flyers, signing books. Now they got social media numbers. They ain't nowhere near you. They just selling from a video. It's selling from, I used to do tours. Now they're like, you don't have to do tours anymore. Just sell your book from social media. I'm like, well, I only got 10,000 followers. How am I going to work on? I got 3 million books sold and only 10 because I'm not a social media hound. I'm not on this thing every day. I'm not holding the phone all day long. Even with
Mhm.
Zoom, I'm like, all right, now they got to see you on Zoom. It's this new device. but I don't like doing regular conversations on Zoom because if
Mm-hmm.
I got a bad face day or a bad hair day, or you know what I mean? Like now I got to get my face all together and get my outfit together. It's so vain. This new
Yeah.
community is so, everything is about a dress code and the imagery. And I'm like, dude, if I just want to talk to you on the phone, I can't just talk to you on the phone. You got to see me on a Zoom call. You know, so it got to the point where it's very vain now. Everybody is a star.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. What that means is what you got, what makes you so important. What so now it's like everybody's bragging over top of you. And I'm like, yo, I'm not used to that. Everybody's a star now. Now I'm competing with people that got, well, I got 300,000 followers. You only got 10,000. Your book wasn't good. You must be a nobody. You got, yes, yes. Don't get your eyes big. Social media people
Yeah,
will say that. They will say that all day long. You got 10,000 followers. I got 3 million. You ain't did nothing. That's how they talk now. Yes. Don't look crazy. That's how they are. Social media has done that to people. So if you look at that, and then you look at the women, I got to be honest. I can't get on social media with a whole bunch of swimsuits and think after a man does that 3 times with his chest out, y'all gonna start saying, "What's wrong with this dude? He got his chest out of it. What the hell's wrong with him? Is he vain?" But young girls can do it all day long. All they do is take swimsuit pictures, and they got 1 million followers, and it's not social for them because they don't even answer their followers. They don't want these guys trying to pick them up because you know that's what's gonna happen. Hey, baby, won't you hit me up in the DM? Let's go out because you got all these swim. But these young girls get away with that. Guys can't. So y'all can use social media in a way that guys can't because naturally a woman's curves is attractive to a male because we biologically prone to go into women because when your curves develop, that says to a man, now she's ready for procreation. That is natural habitat of humans. So if a woman does that over and over again, you naturally going to get a guy's eyes. But that don't work for girls because you're going to have all these chest out photos. They're going to start looking at you like you crazy. Like, what's wrong with this dude? You know what I mean? So we don't get away with that, but girls do. So social media has changed a lot, all about numbers, and everybody got a big head now. Everybody. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, you
I
didn't know that? You didn't know that?
Because I don't be on that side. I only focus on literature,
Okay.
and that's it. I don't
All right.
tend to
But yeah,
focus
social
on
media
that.
people, they will look at your numbers and say, oh, she a nobody. She got 18,000. I got 134. That's how they are. Them numbers give them status. You didn't know that? You
I
didn't know that?
understand. I understand all of that.
Okay.
I've been on the internet, but
Yeah, because you had them gigantic eyes like, what? That's happening? Yeah, that's happening.
because the one thing I will say about me that nobody on here that know me, I'm the realest motherfucker you will ever meet. And the one thing I ain't gonna tolerate
Yeah,
is
yeah,
disrespect and all that other unnecessary shit. I'll
yeah,
call it out as I see it.
yeah,
So I don't when you talking, I'm like, and for anybody to say, hey, you are nobody because you got 11,000 followers, I don't
yeah.
give a fuck. That
That's what
shit,
they do.
that shit wouldn't even that
But
numbers.
see, but see, it's not even the people. Corporations are doing that now, right? When I come,
Mm,
these new books I got coming out, first question they ask me, what's your marketing team look like?
mm,
Now, when I used to get signed in the 90s, they didn't ask you about no marketing team. That was their job. If you had a marketing team, that was extra. Now
mm,
they start the conversation. If we're
mm,
going to publish you, do you have a marketing team? They want to know that right now because they want to know that you're going to do your own marketing. Because now they're
mhm,
looking at it like, no, we ain't spending no money if you can do it by. So now everybody got lazy. Corporate America don't want to spend money. They want to see
mm,
what you can do by yourself first, right? Then if you can do it by yourself, then I'll think about spending money. But if you can do it by yourself, then why do I gotta spend money? You already get. So it's everybody's become lazy because of what social media stars have been able to do with their numbers.
mhm.
Yeah.
And I think it's like a niche. It's a niche in which people you're talking about. Because on Black Book Talk, that's not the case. It's about supporting the black authors.
Mm-hmm.
So that outside of that bubble, they don't matter. They don't
Mm-hmm.
matter to us. We only care
Okay.
about what's black and an author that is black writing, whether you are indie or traditional, because we understand that even when y'all are traditional, y'all still don't get as much as your white
You're
counterparts.
right. You're
So
right.
we will push forward for you guys.
Right.
So on Black Book Talk, that shit don't fly. I can
Right.
tell you that much. We
Right.
care about our own. We care about our own authors, our black authors. We do. We even care about our POC authors because some of us are Afro Latinas or Afro
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yeah.
we care about those authors. Now, I don't give a fuck what they do over there on the pale side.
Yeah.
But over here, our goal is to make sure y'all succeed. Our
Yeah.
goal is to make sure y'all get those fucking deals because we've
Yeah.
had authors like Kennedy Ryan that started
Yeah.
out doing stuff on TikTok and look at where she's at now, movie
Yeah.
deals. You know, we care about y'all so much. We want y'all to succeed. We will buy the books. We will
Yeah.
push the books. You know what I'm
Yeah, but you
saying?
got it right. Like, cause I just wrote an Eagles book. We started the season against Green Bay in
Mm.
Brazil. It was the first. Now you know when they said Brazil, we colored people. Now I know my history. Brazil got more black people than we got in America.
They do.
Brazil was loaded. So immediately I'm like, yo, they going Brazil now, and the Eagles were the home team. So I wrote that whole story, and it has Portuguese translation in it. But like you
Mm.
said, I'm a black writer. Will they translate in Portuguese and push it down there? Will they push it in Mexico City? Will they push it around the world? Because as a black writer, how many of our books do they push around the world compared to white writers? So I'm in that daggone crush right now, knowing that I wanted to impact Brazilian readers, my Brazilian sisters and brothers, with the
Mhm.
Philadelphia Eagles playing the Green Bay Packers in Brazil. So I'm still working to get that book okay right now. Working to get the NFL to say yes. Working to get the Eagles to say yes. Working to get Green Bay to say yes because it's an excellent book. But it's a
Mhm.
bigger idea. It ain't in the hood. I'm going to
Mhm.
Brazil with it. I'm doing super. The Eagles just won a Super Bowl. Green Bay, the daggone Lombardi Trophy, is named after the coach, Vince Lombardi, the Green Bay dude. And so
Mhm.
it's all that history that I've been able to write, and I got a great story, and now I've
Mhm.
got to pitch it and push it and get it, accepted. But yeah, it's a bigger idea. So they typically, when you get big ideas, a black man, a woman doing a Harry Potter, would they
Mhm.
push it like that? You know what I mean? So we always got to look at that. Now, Roots from Alex Haley,
Mhm.
oh my goodness, man. But that was a historical piece that's
Yeah.
telling our whole story that they couldn't deny at that time. Came out in the 70s. And yeah, Alex Haley, huge book, But a lot of the other books, you got to transfer and cross over. So I want to see this book is a crossover book because you got a whole lot of fans that are not black, but they're still fans of football. I understand how they are. So that book is loaded. But let's see if this black boy from Philadelphia can get an international Brazilian book on these Eagles that we all love and watch, that I grew up listening to and watching and wanting to emulate. So we'll see.
You can. You can because this is not like it was back in the day. The
Yeah.
one thing I will say about the women and men that are in literature and that follow you guys, when I say we ride for y'all, nobody outside of us can come in and say shit
Okay.
without fucking getting because
Yeah.
we
Who you
want
talking
y'all to
about?
succeed.
Yeah. Yeah. They
And
telling
so
our story. Yeah.
and and
You,
we
you ever see that movie? Did you ever see the movie Amistad that came
yes,
out years ago?
yes,
Do you
yes,
remember at the end of the movie they had a black translator who had to translate between the Africans and then the what? Remember that role? And he got upset because he understood that y'all not doing and getting the message that's the clear message. So he got frustrated as the translator, and that's the position that we're in as story keepers of the community. We have to be. And so when you start talking about movies, right, and
mm,
Fly Girl being a film, you got to understand with me being a translator, I'm trying to make sure that film is done correctly.
yeah,
Because if they start messing with the film and messing with the message I want to get across, and you just watching it for your enjoyment, I'm
mm,
watching it for authenticity and the facts. I'm very, looking at, hey, they didn't get this right, they didn't get that right, they didn't get this
mm,
right. And you just want to see a movie that becomes very nervous for me because I'm trying to make sure it's the right movie with the right message about our people that's authentic. And that's a hard battle when you start dealing with Hollywood. So I'm a Spike Lee type. I'm a John
mm.
Singleton type. I'm a Ryan Coogler type that's going to fight for proper cultural representation. And that's why it becomes so hard for me to get a film. Same thing with Sister Soldier. If you've never been around her, she has a personality that ain't stepping and fetching. She gonna stand up and fight. As she say, if the truth drives you crazy, you'll be insane. If the truth hurts, you'll be in pain. We are at war. You know, but they don't know that because they don't know Sister Soldier like I know it. They're not as old as her. They don't know where she came from, that black civil rights anthem and whatnot. She
Mm-hmm.
should have been a throwback to the 60s, just like me. You know, but we're going to fight for the proper representation of the culture, and that makes it harder for us to get the deal. But if we both are going in there, hey, give us some money. I give you whatever you want. You do whatever you want to do with it. Just give me some money. Just make me popular and famous. I give you whatever you want. Let you do. If we were them kind of people, the movies would have been done. They would have been done wrong. It would have been done silly. It would have made us look ridiculous. It would have made other people money. But since we holding down the culture, we're not going to do that. It becomes way harder to do. But I'm telling y'all, the numbers make it a lot easier for us to walk in there and say we sold 5 million books. Right now, we still at 700,000, 800,000, something like that. So we haven't even broken a million yet. When we do that, then we can get the movie. And this is not game coming from me. Numbers control everything. That, what's that? The Wu-Tang, cash rules everything. Now it's numbers rule everything around me. You know what I mean? It's numbers. What it
You're not
is.
saying anything that we haven't already heard or
Right.
know, because the one thing about the internet age is no matter how old you are, you got to learn the game just like you had to
Yeah.
learn the game back in the day. It's all a
Yeah.
game. It's a numbers game. It's a popularity game. You just got to step into the right people when it comes to that game. So let me
Yep.
ask you this: how do you see um the themes that resonated in your book, Fly Girl, resonating with the today's readers? Because a
Well,
lot of
it's
people are just
interesting.
finding you
That,
again.
well, let's look at all three of the books because
Okay.
this is what I'm going to talk about on tour. It's interesting. Now, I wrote those books in the 90s and then the early 2000s. So that's
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago. But
Yeah.
watch how things it just map out so perfectly. In Fly Girl, she's a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
She don't have a problem with dominating hard rock boys. When you a
Mm-hmm.
teenager and you in the hood, you prefer those type of boys. You ain't gonna date no punk. You gonna date the hardest, slickest, coolest dude that give you them feelings that, oh my God, you know, gets
Yeah.
you all wet and spicy and uncomfortable. And he's the one that gets you, right? And that's
Yeah.
what when y'all read Fly Girl, they all love it. He's the man. Everybody know that. He got all the dudes admire him, all the girls with. He's a fighter, he's a football player, he's a hustler. He got all. That's how we were. The top, a dominant male, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the second book, she goes to college for the love of money. She comes out of college. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when you get to that level, now women start thinking about their own money, their own status, their own life. Now, that same hard rock knucklehead that you was so in love with when you were 17, now, when you 22, you looking at him like, look, I ain't doing that same hood stuff. You need to grow up. I gotta get my own money. I'm not listening. So now she's more skeptical. Ain't
Mm-hmm.
jumping in this boat like she would as a 17. She got
Yeah.
her own money. So now she's like, look, I got my own money. I ain't go. So now woman is more critical of that male. May not
Mm-hmm.
go in there with that male. Now let's go 10 years after that when she hit 30 something. If she ain't already married and she already been a boss in her 20s, now she like, I ain't got tolerance for none of these M words out here, talking this, talking. Now she's a single boss lady with boss lady attitude, can't accept no man. And you see how my personality is. I'm not going to be carrying your bags and holding doors for you like I'm some butler. I'm still a man. So if you can't respect the dominant man now because you got your own money and you can do bad by yourself or good by yourself, you're going to end up with children and no husband and no. And this is when you look at it, I'm like, wow. Because when I wrote it, I wasn't thinking about looking at how the future would map out. Now I'm hearing so many sisters talking about, I ain't got no time for the man. I can make it. And so now I'm like, okay, well, what kind of man you gonna get with this? Because if you ain't no man gonna be following behind. And then watch this. Some women have been raised with dominant men. They don't like passive men. So now even if a man follows you around, most likely you gonna disrespect him and push him away because you ain't used to that. So now you in a bind, and I'm looking at this like, wow, I got these conversations coming. You was a fly girl that accepted dominant men. Then you went to college and graduated. Then you got skeptical. Then you made your own money and said, I ain't got time for none of them now. And we got more single people now. We up to 73% single mother households. It's crazy. 73%. That's three out
But
of
don't you
four.
think that's across the board, not just black women?
No, when you talk about Asian women, they understand how to be with a man. And then you talk about white women, black women say it all the time. Them white girls are submissive. Yeah, because they still control right now. What my pop told me, white man has been in control of the world for 2,000 years. So they babies. This world been around 500, a million years, but in the last 500, really, because they hit Africa in the 1400s. So they wasn't even in Africa yet. So they 500 years old, but in that time, white man has done his thing. So when a white woman is up against a white man, they don't battle them for the most part. They're like, he making way more money than me. So they back up. Even when they get with a black male athlete, right? Black male football player, black male basketball player. White women will back up and say, he's the man. I'm going to let him do. Sisters battling or arguing. And a lot of brothers like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go over here. Particularly, I'm a brother from the hood, so I can take all that. If you got a suburban brother that played football or basketball his whole life and he ain't been dealing with rugged inner city, he don't want all that. He just want a mate. And so this is where we get in trouble. He just wants a mate. You know, he don't want all the other stuff. You know, so this is where we get in trouble. And then sisters would get mad at it. But I wrote those books years ago, and I wasn't talking about the racial dynamic. We just talking about the money as you elevate. When you get to that boss lady status, it's an issue.
Okay.
Who put that chicken on my head? How that thing happen? Somebody put a
They
chicken
give
on
you
my head
gifts.
flying around.
They
That
give
means
you
somebody was
gifts.
hating what I was talking about.
Okay. I'm finna. This is coming from a woman's perspective
Right. Go
in
ahead.
her 40s.
Go ahead.
All right. I lived in a 2-parent home.
Right.
My dad was a hood nigga that made it out the streets and
Right.
wound up making his own business, but he stayed hood. My
Right.
mother was a homemaker.
Right.
I was raised by both. So I saw the submissive side and I
Right.
saw the dominant side. I
Right.
am a product of both.
Right.
So I am dominant and submissive, but it takes a man that I choose to show him my soft side. I don't need a dominant man because I'm
Right.
already a dominant woman. And I
Right.
don't need a soft man because I can be soft by myself.
So we got to figure that out. Go ahead. I'm listening.
But I am also a veteran. I was in the Marines. I'm a hard motherfucker.
Yeah.
I box, martial arts, everything. I know
Yeah.
this about myself.
Yeah.
I am a boss bitch. I
Gotcha.
am a boss to my heart.
Right.
But I don't need to be submissive to any man. It shouldn't be white, black, purple, green. I don't need to be submissive to him. Just like I have to prove my respect for him, he has to prove his respect for me. And my
Right.
table has a seat, and it may not be for him. He may be for a short time, not a long
Right.
time.
Okay.
And same goes with him. I don't think in 2025 that women will be like, if I'm too boss, I can't get a man, or I can't sit with this man or get the man that I want. Because I've had basketball players, NBA
Mm-hmm.
players.
Mm-hmm.
I've had, six figures type men that
Right.
I have dated, actors that I have dated.
Right.
But they wasn't even enough for me because they didn't know how to respect the woman that I am. And it's not
Okay.
because I argued. It is not because, I'm too boss of a female.
So do you have a man that understands how to respect you now?
Oh, I'm married to him.
Okay.
I'm married to him. And he
Okay. Good deal.
understands I have my
Well, that's
boss.
all we saying. We're not talking about men. We talking about you finding that one dude. Cause see, my mother was a
He
dominant
had to
woman.
earn that though. He had
Okay, you
to
had to
earn
earn it. It doesn't matter. You chose a dude that did that.
it.
But when you have women that can't choose no dude that can do that, they end up with nobody. You found somebody that connects with you.
But I
But
was
when
a
you have,
single mother at first.
say it again.
I was a single mother at first, raising my kids.
My mom was a single mother too until age 9. Okay,
Mm.
but she found it. That's what I'm saying. She was a dominant woman that found a dude. But when you got women that don't find a dude and they keep some, like you already said, you went up on a side submissive, so you know both sides. That got some women right now that will tell you to your face, I ain't being submissive to no man, no time, nowhere. Even when
Mm.
they have a dude that respects them. You see what I'm
Mm.
talking about? Because they haven't had both sides like you had both sides. Now, my
Mm.
mom, again, my mom was the oldest of 8 and grew up in the same rough neighborhood I grew up in, but she grew up in the 60s in
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia. Do you know what Philadelphia was like in the 60s? No black woman going around trying to be like men in the 60s in Philadelphia. And then my father was a hard rock dude, and my
Mm,
uncles and cousins were all hard. So my mother knew, even though she was a hard woman, I can't deal with my cousins and these men. They my cousins. I know how they fight. So she wanted to have a man that could have respect from the cousins and all. My pop fit the bill. My mom
mm,
ain't dating no dude where my cousins feel like you a punk.
mm,
Her cousins hung out with my father. In fact, my father told me that he taught some of my cousins how to fight. You see what I'm talking about? But
mm,
my mother, she couldn't marry him because he got involved in drugs and all that. She found another man, 6'4", 230, Overbrook High School, wasn't having it. That's why I'm in front of you now. No jail record, never been in jail, because she needed a man to raise a man, and she already knew with my gene base, he ain't gonna be no stepping, pension punk. I need somebody that could really. But when I got where I get now, I'm a man's man. I need a woman now to say, okay, Omar's a real man. Okay,
mm,
I'm going to respect you, but you got to respect me in the way I need to be respected. And that's
mm.
where we are now, where real dudes that do what they supposed to do, raised that way. If we up against women that don't understand how to do their part, we in trouble.
Well, women that are like that, they're looking for a safe space, and sometimes the energy that a man gives, regardless of if he's doing right or not, is not the energy that is needed for her to have that safe space. So,
Well, what you said was right. We're gonna go back to what you said. You
mm,
had submissive and dominant in your same household, right?
mm,
What if a girl has no submissive? She never said because her mom is battling everything. She don't know what that is.
I
You see what
have
I'm talking
family
about?
members like that.
Yeah. So now when she go out and meet a real dude, she thinking something wrong with him.
But what exactly is a real dude?
Well, a real dude is going to handle what he's supposed to handle. He's going to pay the bills. He's going to do everything he's supposed to do. So if you submit to him, he know he's supposed to handle. There ain't no excuses, ain't no feelings. And that's the
Mm,
difference. With I don't feel like, look here, when I got to pay the bill, I got to pay the bill. When I got to take
mm,
out the trash, I got to take out the trash. It ain't no feelings involved. When we
mm,
start dealing with women, it's a feeling all the time. Like, yo, you think I feel like going to work every day? You think I feel like doing X, Y, and Z? No, but we do it because what we say with men, a man got to do what a man got to do, right? So and that's what other men tell you. I was
mm,
raised by uncles and men. If I
mm,
wasn't, I wouldn't have heard that. But since I am, I'm always ready to do what I need to do. So that's what I was doing as an entrepreneur, as a man, as a father, as an older brother, as an older uncle. I happen to be the oldest in my family, as
mm,
all the boys in the next generation, because my mom was the oldest, my pop was the oldest. So I'm
mm,
born into chiefdom. So I'm a
mm,
chief born into it. Ain't nothing I can do about it. My
mm,
mother was even saying that. You the firstborn, so you got to show representation for your brother. And I was like, I ain't asked to be the firstborn. I'm trying to back away from it. My mom said, you can't take it back. You are the oldest. So I
mm,
have responsibilities that younger brothers didn't have. You feel
mm,
me? So for me to cater to somebody, I'm like, yo, I got stuff to do. So I'm not
mm,
going to be getting into all these extra feelings. You know, when you a
mm.
chief, you got to do what you got to do. My whole family looking at me. You understand me?
Yeah.
So when you say what's a real man, he keeps it moving. That's a word. You can't get stuck in. So I had girls at Howard University that like guys to babysit them all day. I'm like, yo, I'm
Mm,
in college for a reason to get my education. I'm gonna see you at 9 when I'm finished working and doing whatever. I'm not gonna hang on the yard for 5 hours to make you feel good, to rub your toes and like them dudes doing that. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna see where that dude is 10 years from now. If he's hanging
mm.
all the time, hanging out with you all day. You feel me? So a
Yeah.
man does what he's supposed to do. A woman has to understand how to respect that space. I just heard a woman yesterday saying, you know, a lot of guys want to talk to girls all day. She said, well, if you talking to me all day, I got to stop and ask myself, well, what's your life like? What kind of job you got? If you so she said, yeah, I understand you can't talk to me all day, but it's the quality time when we do talk. You see what I'm
Mm,
talking about? But you get some women that want to control all your time, and now they ain't happy because you ain't. You got to grow up from that. You got to have a woman that my mom wouldn't do that because she had times when she had to go to work. So if she got to go to work, she ain't gonna be clocking your time. I'm gonna see you after work. That's the kind of women I had to date. Because any other kind that's dependent on the man's attention, I'm like, yo, when I got to go to work, I'm going to work. Just like a football player going to work. Just like a basketball
mm,
player going to work. Just like any man that's making money, when it's time to go to work, we go to work. We need women that can understand that. And when we come back home, baby, you had a hard day. Let me get the food ready. That's real woman for a real man. Not the complaining and arguing. When you know I go to work every day. I ain't never been lazy and shiftless. That's words that ain't in my vocabulary. So please don't try to act like I'm one of the regular dudes when I've been trained to work hard for all of us. That's what a real man is.
okay. Okay. Well, Mr. Real Man.
But
I
what was
appreciate.
that chicken thing? Who had that chicken thing bouncing? What was that?
You
I
know
don't
how many
understand.
people probably put something on you? You've been getting gifts this whole freaking time.
So I had a chicken bouncing on my head the whole
That's
time.
just a gift. It's just a gift.
Okay.
They give you
Okay.
gifts.
I didn't know what okay, I didn't know what it was. So I can eat the chicken. What does that mean? What is
Boy,
it?
boy, bye,
I can fry and put the barbecue on
bye,
it.
bye. So I am through. This is a very interesting conversation. This is a very interesting conversation. You done broke me out of my
Yeah, you
nervousness.
took it there because you got
I'm
three
good.
books.
I'm good
You
with
got
that.
you got three books that elevate, and I wasn't even trying to do that at the time. But you
Mhm.
remember, Boss Lady came out in 2005.
Right.
At that time, we really only had one Boss Lady, Oprah
Mm-hmm.
Winfrey, was
Mm-hmm.
standing proud. Now we got every girl on the internet. I'm a boss. I'm a boss. I'm a boss. In fact, when I reveal it this weekend, I'm gonna see what song, how many songs we got out. I'm a boss. I'm a boss. You start bragging about it. You know what I mean? Like they
So
bragging about it now.
what is it
But
bragging or is saying that I achieved something? And because when I say I'm a boss, it's because I worked my ass off to get where
right,
I am. I
right.
went from military to college. So I brag, I'm a boss motherfucker. I
Yeah,
say that all the time, but I mean it. It's not being bragging, it's me being to the fact that I understand me. I
right,
am comfortable in me. So
right.
when somebody else is trying to say I'm not a boss, that's because they're insecure in them.
Well, it's
So
like I said earlier, like everybody stars now. So when you say you a boss,
mm-hmm.
now I'm not going to talk about all the men because you got some dudes that's weak men.
Yeah,
Do you think every sister's a boss?
I think every sister has a potential to be a boss.
Or I think every man has a potential to be a man. But
Exactly.
is every sister a boss?
If they choose to say so,
Is every sister a boss?
and I'm going
You
to
see how
keep
you
saying what
tap
I
dancing?
said.
Is every sister a boss?
And this is, I'm going to keep saying what I said. They have the potential to be boss because let me tell you
But
this.
that's not the question.
That may not be the question, but that's the answer you're going to get.
Yeah, you can see that because I can say this. Every man is not a real dude that's going to handle. I'm going to say that.
Mm-hmm.
They all got potential. But what I'm trying to get you to say, every woman ain't built to be no boss. My mother was the first of all seven. I got three other aunts. If I look
Mm-hmm.
at my other aunts, I'm like, they didn't have my mother's personality. They don't. So I can't sit here and say with you, yeah, they have a potential to be in the situation they're in, but they wasn't born the oldest and they didn't have the responsibility that my mother had, where in her brain she had to encode what she needed to do. And when you're the oldest child, you get all the most information because it's coming straight from the parents to you. When you become second, third, and fourth, now it's coming from the other child of some other sort. But the oldest always get, and it's in books, the oldest child always has way more information because the parents speak to them first and foremost all the time. And so my mother was a boss because she was born into it. The rest of the sisters, they not, no, they bossy, but they not bosses. So again, when we doing that, and every sister starts calling herself a boss, we end up having issues. Now she can be the boss of her family, the woman of her household, but that word boss, it adds extra swagger to it. It adds
Mm-hmm.
extra domination. And they know
Mm-hmm.
what that means when they say it. So you can't say that, like, if I call myself a boss, I was cutting checks. I
Mm-hmm.
was, you got a lot of people that call themselves, but you ain't cutting no checks. What boss, in what world are you a boss? You said you were an entrepreneur. What is another woman that's not an entrepreneur? She gonna be a boss? You was in the military where they got rank. If you got a woman that work at McDonald's her whole life and she ain't never had no rank, she going, you see what I'm talking about? Now she may be the boss of her family, of her kids, but that's not going to elevate to being a boss on a man because he's like, yo, that's your kids. I'm not, you only boss over me. So that word, it just creates a lot of stress and confliction when women throw it around with men who can't explain themselves. You can't, you know what I mean? They just feel that whole crunch of, if she a boss, then what am I supposed to be? And that
A
a whole
man.
lot of men immediately back away from that, like, you know what? I don't want to be involved.
Well, the thing about that is, the thing about a man or hold on. The thing about a man saying they can't deal with someone who says they're a boss is because they wasn't for them. They wasn't for them. Just like a woman who says a man is too passive, he is not for her. You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
but let's look at it. Like, if that's the case, we got 73% single mother household. My mom wanted to be married. Evidently, you wanted to be married because you was single. Because we got some single mothers like, I'm going to be fine. I'm just going to raise a kid. Evidently, you wanted to be if you got married, unless the dude forced you to get. My mother wanted to be married because she could have kept her household, kept her own money. She didn't have to. She wanted to be married and have a family.
But the
Was
thing
that the
about it
case for you?
is with
Go ahead.
me and my marriage, because yeah, he asked to marry me, yes.
Okay.
But the bills are split 50-50. And yes, he still does. He works 7 to 5 at a corporate job.
Right.
And we both got college degrees.
Right.
He's still in school right now to get
Right.
another degree.
Right.
I don't have a problem with, being as dominant as I am
Right.
because I'm secure in it. And
Right.
he's secure in it because I've always been this way since the moment he met me.
Right.
So he's very secure in his masculinity. So
Right.
it never bothered him that when we first met, I just wanted to be friends.
Right.
It never bothered him when I said, you know what, we can be friends with benefits, but
Right.
I don't want a relationship right now
Yeah.
because I was a single mother.
Yeah.
So I have to be careful who I bring around my kids.
Right.
So when I say, like you said, that girl at McDonald's who,
Yeah.
that title
Donald.
stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
she's a boss in her own right because there are men and women out here who ain't got no job.
Mm-hmm.
But she got a job, regardless if her family living in a 1 bedroom, a studio, or a house. She got
Right.
a job.
Right.
Because that's just like that stripper that worked at the strip club. You don't know if she's going to school to get her master's degree.
Right.
But she is a boss
Well,
because she is.
you got to understand. You had conversations,
Mm-hmm,
very open. You are a very open talker,
mm-hmm,
sister. You got to understand. Some women don't know how to express what they want to really say, so
mm-hmm,
they don't talk to the guy. They do all that stuff. That ain't
mm-hmm,
talking. You a talker. You got a
mm-hmm.
podcast. You're working. You had a man and you explained the things. He said okay. So y'all walk the path. But you got women that can't explain it like that, and they
You
ain't
think I was
comfortable in
like
it.
this all the way, all the time? Oh, no, 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 no. No. Because he had to help me communicate because I
Okay.
was that girl. I was
Okay.
that girl.
Okay.
I had an attitude. And I still
Okay.
do to
Now
this
you're
day.
telling on yourself. There you go. That's what I'm
But
talking about.
it's not telling them.
Yeah.
I am very comfortable in where I come from and
Right.
how I represent myself. Even when I was in the military, I still didn't communicate well, but I got the job done.
Right.
Even when I was in Iraq, I still got the job done. When I
Right.
went to college, pledged, did all that shit, I still got the job done and I didn't communicate and I still had that attitude. And most
Right.
people will be like, oh, she got a chip on her shoulder. Where I was raised and how I was, that's how they talk. That's how they
Right.
talk.
Right.
So you either get with it or you don't. And I'm
Right.
cool with that if you don't. I'm not a very emotional type person on some real shit. I'm not emotional because if you feel how you feel, that's how you feel. We can
Right.
have an educated conversation. We can have this dialogue and it's fine. And I promise it will never hurt my feelings.
But
But
you already said you have a very communicatable, negotiable man. That's what you have. So you got to understand you got one. If you got a regular dude who gets emotional like a woman gets emotional, it ain't gonna turn out the way. And
how
you
you
just
think my
said,
ex-husband was? Because that's what he was. That's why he my ex-husband.
okay, well, what I'm telling you is a whole lot of battling is happening like the ex-husband, where
Mm,
women can't explain what you have now. So you went
mhm.
into a second situation where now it's explainable, it makes sense. We got a whole lot of sisters that can't make sense and brothers that don't make sense. And when they throw that boss lady stuff out there, it automatically becomes a battle because that young dude is asking them, and he may not be able to explain it like me and you. And he's
Mhm.
gonna say, look here, if she a boss, I already know that's a battle. I don't feel like dealing with it. And then she gonna say, he intimidated by me. He like, look here, I don't want to be battling with a woman. I want to mate. I want to mate. I don't want to battle. So we take that as a battle. Women's, I'm strong. That's not attractive. We want a woman that can say, I can cook, I can support. You saying you strong, I get that because we come from the black community. But at the end of the day, it's like you can hold down the house, but I don't want you battling me every day. I don't want that battle. I want a woman when I come home, can you hug me? You know what I mean? Can I get a kiss? You know what I mean? Like if I'm a battle, that's like coming home to a dude every day and we throw our hands up and beat each other up. I want softness when I come home. And so a lot of women that get into that, they don't understand that at the end of the day, dude, I want to come home and hug my woman. It's been a hard day already. I don't want more hardness when I come home. You know? Now, I'm not saying
Okay.
every woman got to be soft, but I don't want the battle every day. Iron sharpens iron. I had iron fathers and iron uncles. I don't want iron women too.
Well,
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
let's get back to the book then. Your
Yeah.
female characters are very assertive, very ambitious, and multidimensional, right? Why was it crucial for you to write these black women this way in this light?
Because it's true. It's true. You know, when you ambitious like you're good. My mother was in the 60s. So she's way younger than us. I'm not
Mm,
older, my fault, way older. So in the 60s, you didn't have that. Trust me, talk to your mother. You didn't have that option because in the 60s, dudes are like, what you do? That option became more available as women moved up the ladder, went to college more, the whole nine in the 70s and the 80s. That option became more open. In the 60s, it's more men going to school, more men hustling, more men having straight jobs where they making big dollars at a factory. They started closing them jobs. So now you got to get more education. When I went to Howard, it's 8, 9 women to win to one man. Now you're not getting money but we still got athletes that still make more money than them, that still get way bigger money. But now we got a lot of women coming out of Howard University that make more money than the men that they dealing with. And them men can't take that. Oh, I'm the boss. That dude. Like, I'm not trying to hear that. So as much as we want to battle that, you're going to end up with slim pickings on a dude that can handle you talking about being a boss all the time. Because
mm,
what he's equating that to, she going to want to battle me. And I don't want to deal with it. I want a woman. I don't want a chess partner or something where I got every day I'm playing chess with. Like, look, I'm tired of it. I'm already playing chess with the white man. I got to come home and play chess with you. So y'all don't understand that that's writing for a man. Like, we don't want all that. I want to come home and relax. Just like you want to come home and relax, you know? So it's hard, but I can tell you battling because you are a boss woman. Now, my mother would immediately say, yeah, you're right. Because she's from an era where she's like, even though she was a boss, she like, I know I don't want to go to battle with my man because I know how they think. I know how they are, even though she's a boss. But again, she's way older than you. So now
mm.
the stuff we doing now, we want to, I got to see what it's going to look like. And my son already said what you said earlier, where it's like meantime relationships. Now my son is already saying, if the woman don't do what I want, I'm out. And I'm like, wow. And that's what you're creating. And so now you hearing these young dudes like, I'm out. They don't have to, because if you telling me that I stick to it and you want me to be a mouse and you're not going to listen to me and I'm like, I'm not trying to do. So now you got a lot of young dudes like, I'm a user, abuser, and I'm out of here. They not even trying to be old school like that no more because these young women are telling them, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm more important to you. I'm not. So the dude is like, well, what the hell am I spending all this time? All right, let me just hit the panties and I'm going. And my son tells me this. He said it's changed now. You from that era where y'all going to do it regardless. You're going to hang out with one of them 20, 30 years. This new generation, see you later. And that's what we're dealing with. And that when this book come back out, The Boss Lady, how many of y'all bosses with a man? That's what we're really looking at now. Because I remember when Janet Jackson had a husband named Renee. Now, my mother's name is Renee. Okay? And the time she had that husband, I'm thinking like Janet Jackson. Remember her song, Control? Now I'm all going. And I'm sitting there looking like, ain't no way in hell I'm going to be Renee. And the whole other brothers like, we ain't going to be Renee either. But she found a dude, her Renee, who's going to follow her around. She ain't marry him long because, you know, she's still Janet Jackson growing up with Joe and all her brothers. So she still wanted a masculine man. But for the meantime, she had Renee. And every brother looking at that was like, ain't no way in hell. You see what I'm talking about? And I'm a Philadelphia. So it's just another level, you know, like the New York men and Detroit men, and you know, you get them harder areas, Chicago men, because now it's even more competition.
Cause Chicago
You
man,
from Chicago?
I
Do
am
you know
born and
Michael
raised.
Baisden is from Chicago?
Huh?
Michael Baisden is from
Yes,
Chicago.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
But go ahead. What you
yes.
gonna say about Chicago? Go ahead.
Chicago man,
What are you
uh.
saying about? What are you disagreeing with? What are you saying about?
Chicago men understand that Chicago females are aggressive,
Okay.
aggressive,
You know what's crazy?
and they
Are
have
you from
no,
Chicago too?
huh?
Are you from Chicago?
Yes, Southside,
Okay.
born and raised, seven
This
nickel,
this is
Wild
this is
100.
this is this is ironic. Guess what woman I get along with more than any other woman in this country?
What's that?
I'm gonna let you guess.
Chicago women.
Chicago. because is this Philadelphia. I have never had a problem because they expect immediately. I never argue with Chicago women. They get it on, so I don't have to go over. They get it already. He a man, and it's automatic. And I've been saying that forever. I get along with Chicago more than Philly women. Now, I'm telling you that with no vice. In fact, I wanted to move to Chicago because we grew up watching Cooley High every day, and it was so authentic. When we talk about authentic movie, Eric Monte is like my hero. With all that stuff, Cooley High and what's that, Good Times and Jefferson. He was writing all that because he understood authenticity. But I have never had a problem with Chicago women, but they don't battle me. I have never had a battle with Chicago women. I don't have to battle. They get it. They know. And I'm not like I'm getting the car. I don't do that. I just walk in like, hey, how you doing, Omar? And they get it. They understand it. This is a real man. So I never had problems with Chicago women. So that's ironic that you bring that up because I've never had that problem.
So let me ask you this. We're gonna get back to the books because
Yeah,
you've
we
been
see.
on
But
here.
this is on the book. This is the last book, Boss Lady, Jordan Reed.
Yeah, but you've been
Go
on.
ahead.
We've been on here going back and forth about all this stuff. We're gonna get back to the book.
Yeah.
All right, Tracy, coming to age journey mirrors narratives often written by a lot of the white authors. Babysitters Club, whatever, back in the day, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yet you pioneer a space for Black storytelling. You pioneered a space to talk about the urban backdrop. Do you think readers will be just as captivated as the original audiences?
I don't know. We got to wait and see. That will really show us how much the generations have changed psychologically. I
Mm.
got to wait and see. But the women love Fly Girl more. Ironically, they love
Mm.
Fly Girl more. When you were just up and on that first
Something happened. You mute yourself. You mute yourself. You mute yourself.
older, it gets more complicated. But in the first book, it's he the hottest boy in the hood. He's the hottest boy on South Side of Chicago, hottest boy on the West Side, and it's easy. You just jump in the boat. Once you
Mm.
get complicated, now you think everything gets more. That's what happened with the books. She got more complicated. But in that first book, whoever got the game, whoever everybody liked, whoever got the cuteness, whoever make me feel a certain way. But that's when you're young. You grow up out of that. So that's in
Yeah.
the books. It's one like I was mapping it out. I'm just like I told you earlier. I get it right. So I got
Yeah.
it right. We can argue all we want, but I gave you the trajectory. Fly girl, for the love of money, we all going after career. Then you become a boss because now you got your own job, you got your own money, and you like I can use a man or be with a man, but I got my own. My mom had her own house. My mom had her own house at 26.
Mm.
We talking about in the 70s. You see what I'm talking about? At
Mm.
26. She could have been like, no, she invited my stepfather to the house, right? And I was meeting him at the house. I'm 7 and 8. They got married when I was 9. So she was courting, and he told her, he said, I'm not moving in a woman's house. He did not move in that house. We moved into his house in Mount Airy. He's the one that moved to Mount Airy. We was in an area called Winfield, which is right outside West Philadelphia. That's where my mom had a house, because she could have been like, all right, I'm gonna raise my son, but she knew better. I was a rough boy. All this energy I'm talking with, I was a rugged boy. So she needed a real dude for me, and she got one. And now I'm Omar Tyree that has the force and the power to kick doors in for y'all. So you got to understand that the personality that I have kicks the
Mm.
doors in. If I had a weaker personality, that wasn't going to happen. And that's what happens. When you got people that's built for a certain thing, I was built for a certain thing. Because
Mm.
when people told me, man, ain't nobody gonna read no books, man. Why you writing books? You had to have the strength to say, I'm gonna write it anyway. I'm gonna do it anyway. You gotta have that. And I came from Philly where you gotta have that. So some people call it arrogance. Oh, he arrogant. Because they want to take away my confidence in what I want to do, and you supposed to give it up. So if you don't give it up, you arrogant. You think you know so much. And so our people always do that when you're a smart person, when you're a person that is confident. Some of our people like, you need to get your head back in order and go get that regular job or whatever.
Yeah.
I wasn't willing to do that. So sometimes you need people that have a certain swag and mojo to kick that damn door open. You're going to need some power in that foot.
Okay. So, do you believe there has been progress in achieving equality for Black authors in traditionally publishing spaces, or do we still have a fight ahead of us when it comes to, I don't know, securing the same opportunities as white authors?
No, we had a lot of us that had imprint deals. Zane had an imprint deal, 50 Cent. Charlemagne the guy that's putting out books now. No, so money talks. I'm telling y'all, money. Zane was making a lot of money. They listened to it. I was making a lot of money. They listened to me. Elin Harris was making a lot of money. Terry McMillan was making money. Toni Morrison, Alice Walker. When you making money, oh, business is business. Yeah, it talks. It's green like this hat, green like this jersey. And when that business talk, oh, they talk. But how many of us, you know what I mean, can get in those positions to keep it going? And then after a while, when it goes down, so we bringing it back out to see if it goes up again. Can we get the young generation to fall in love with that book? I don't know. We got to find out. But that's why I'm telling everybody with my responses to them, get the next generation, buy the book, and give it to the next generation. Don't pass it down. Buy the book, get them to buy their own, because that's what's going to be the thing they're going to ask at the end of the day, so we can take it to the next level.
Do you think it matters whether people outside of Black culture read your books, or do you write specifically for the Black audience?
I would love for people outside of our culture to understand us and get us, but I can't write and bend the content for them. And what I mean by that, when I wrote Fly Girl, it had all Philadelphia slang because we
Mm-hmm.
use certain words. Now you start trying to bend it, you take the slang out, but now it doesn't sound like Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta, and that's why I like Iceberg Slim more than Donald Goines. Iceberg Slim had pimptionaries in the back of his book because he was so authentic in Chicago that you got to know what the con and the pimp and the Jean, all them words he was using. If you want to be in my world, then you got to know the words too. And so with him, it was like, but you know, Donald Goines took out the slang for Detroit and made it more usable. So he sold more books, but it
Mm-hmm.
was less authentic to the culture. Because if you speak a certain way, you speak a certain way. So that's
Mm-hmm.
dangerous to do that. I want to write for authenticity. So that means it's Black, but I would love for other people to learn what we're saying and what we went through. But I'm not going to, bend our story to do that. So yeah, but I would love for more people from other cultures to read our work.
So, what inspired you? What inspired the decision to re-release your books with new covers?
To say that again, to do what books?
What inspired you to the decision to re-release the
Oh,
books
the re-release. Okay,
with
okay.
new covers?
I wanted to re-release the book for the 25th anniversary because it's
Mm-hmm.
new energy and a new cover. I wanted a new cover then. I always had cover designs. And then I wanted to do it for the 30th anniversary, and they kept telling me no. Then I wanted Hollywood because I had the rights was up in arms for Lionsgate for a while, and they never did the screenplay. So I was calling them, and I was trying to get a sticker that says soon to be a feature film to put that, just like Oprah used to have her stickers.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wanted to say yes because they didn't want that responsibility of putting something there. Like, no, so they kept waiting and waiting. Finally, Simon and Schuster, the original publisher, or after I self-published, they hit me up and said, hey, we would like to put your books back out immediately, because I had tried 3 times. So I'm jumping for joy. Like, but now I got Fly Girl perfume I'm working on. I got Fly Girl, outfits, hoodies, slippers, I'm gonna do Fly Girl everything. Because now I'm looking at them and say I gotta do more than just the book. I gotta do like these rappers do and make brand money. Because if I do that, then I can have my own money to do the movie. And I can see now that they didn't listen to me 3 times. Now they find, so it's not in my power or control. You see what I'm talking about? So I'm like, this time around, I got to get as much money as I can off this thing, just in case it don't sell, just in case the other people don't, just in case we don't get a movie. I got to make sure I empower my pockets this time with the Fly Girl brand. So you got a lot of Fly Girl stuff that y'all about to see in the next 5-6 weeks that we gonna be selling that ain't books. And I had to do that because you got to use that brand. You got to use what you got to get what you want. And I got to get more capital and power to do more things that I got to do. Bottom line.
Do you think that book covers play a role in how Black books are marketed and received?
Hmm. We did that. You know what I mean? When we had the cover designs, I was in the cover designs too. Then was like every urban book had some gangster girl on it, or some exotic girl on the cover. And then they start getting embarrassing when you go to the Black section of the bookstore and all those covers are facing out. But that's what they had to do to sell. And then they had to make it more sensational. You got to put this in it. You got to put this sex in it. So now we're overdoing it. Almost like the stage play. Girl, God, don't do this. And they overdo it, and then you're watching and you're getting embarrassed, like, you're overdoing it. But they had to because they're competing against all the other blacks putting the books out. So we did that. We overdid a lot of stuff. Me too. I'm pushing because you got to market and sell when you're competing against other people. Selling music, selling sports, selling clothing, selling whatever, a party, clothing. So you got to compete with all of that. How am I going to compete with that? So we pushed it extra hard and we wanted to make noise and we became dramatic, toxic, whatever you want to call it, so we can make noise. Even with podcasters, calling people out, you know, dealing with people's dirty business, their personal, you know what I mean? I'm like, come on, man, what you doing? I'm not that kind of journalist. But a lot of journalists, they get numbers to do that. You know what I mean? They get more numbers when they out people and stuff. And I'm like, wow, you're doing that to your own people? They don't care. They're about the numbers. So we did a lot of that to sell books and to get the numbers. And I was like, wow, this is what we become. Because so you got to watch it. Ain't all positive all the time. You got some people that's trying to use and abuse it.
I think from a reader's perspective, hear
Yeah.
me out. I think from a reader's perspective, when I read a black urban fiction, contemporary romance, multicultural, interracial, horror, fantasy, whatever, if it has a lot of sex in it, I love it. I
Mm-hmm.
love it. Because the one thing I will never let anyone say, these authors are giving us plot, they are giving us story, but they are also giving us romance at the same time. They are giving us fiction. They are giving us escapism. These black authors that are writing urban fiction, that are writing contemporary, they are writing all these different genres, they are giving us what we want to see. They give us the dominant male. They give us the woman who is not a damsel in distress, that's two damsel in distress. They give us, you know, a plot, relationship, a situation, whether it's a dark romance and that motherfucker kidnapping her ass and stalking her, or whether it's an alien who only loves black women. But they give us that. And so I think that sex sells, yes. Sex does sell, but I am not for saying that it's overdone, because you have your white counterparts out here damn near writing scenes that should be illegal. Illegal. But they get all the praise and all the release parties and stuff like that. The movies even. Because 50 Shades of Grey shouldn't even been a fucking movie.
Mm-hmm.
But they gave her that movie because people fed into that shit. If a black person does it, it seems like people will say it's oversaturated. They will say that it's too much. Why can't we not do the same as them without somebody saying it's too much? Because isn't it the same thing when they say black people? It was the same thing with Kendrick Lamar in his Super Bowl. Too loud, too
Yeah.
ghetto,
Yeah.
too much. Is that not the same thing by saying that it's too much sex? It's too much this, too much that. But our white counterparts, they doing some real wild shit and getting
All
paid
right.
for it.
All right. So when you walk in the bookstore,
Mm-hmm.
Barnes and Nobles,
Mm-hmm.
what percentage of the books do we have in there that's black compared to white people?
50-50 is at least the one in Chicago.
50-50.
50-50.
You mean to tell
Because
me
in
that
Barnes
whoa,
and
whoa,
Noble,
whoa. Do you mean to tell me they got 100 white authors and 100 black?
in Barnes and Nobles in Chicago, I'm just talking about Chicago. I'm not
All right,
talking
I'm
about
listening.
any
I'm
place else.
listening. I'm listening.
In Chicago, Barnes and Nobles puts black authors on the same shelves as the white authors. They do not separate y'all by saying,
I didn't ask that
but
though. Just
let
I
me
asked how
finish. Let
many.
me finish. Let me
Okay,
finish.
go ahead.
Let me finish. So there is the same amount of white authors as black authors, but the reason why it's disproportionate, now hear me out, is because not a lot of black authors are traditionally published. A lot of authors are indie. So it's always going to look like it's more white authors than black authors because the big publishing houses are not putting them there and or giving them the chances. So therefore, that's why it's disproportionate. But all the traditional published authors I know of, they are on the shelves right
It's
next to
not.
that white
I'm
counter.
not asking about the shelves. I'm asking about pure numbers.
And
When
I
you walk
gave
in the
you that.
store,
And I
you're
gave
telling
you
me
that.
that it's 50-50?
And I gave you that. And I gave
And
you that.
this is what I'm asking you.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me that I walk into a store in Chicago that's a Barnes and Nobles,
Mm-hmm.
and they got 100 black authors and 100 white authors on the books.
Yes. And they sell out too. Just like,
For some reason, I don't think you understand my question. I'm talking about
oh,
all the
I
authors in
understand.
the bookstore, the whole bookstore,
And I
not no
understand
section.
that. And I understand that.
And you're
I am
telling me
I am
because
a reader.
you know we don't have as many writers as white people. That's where
Is
it
that not
doesn't
what
make
I
any
just
sense.
said? Is that not what I just said? I said that because there are not enough black authors that are traditionally published, it looks
Well,
disproportionate.
sir, I don't even want to hear the tradition. I'm just talking about numbers, period. They got
And
more
it has to
writers.
be those type of numbers.
Huh?
It has to be said that way because that's what it is.
All I'm trying to get at is that when we just talking about this point,
Mm-hmm.
white authors have so many authors writing books that you would never read in your life, where
Mm-hmm.
they don't have sex and they don't have. So when you have a sensational like the Shades of Grey, that's like 1% of all these other white books. But when you have black authors, if you have 50% of us writing the same content, it's no daggone. You don't have 50% of white
No,
authors
it's
writing the
not.
Shades of Grey. They
No, it's
writing
not.
all kind of stuff.
The biggest industry in the literary industry is romance. Romance carries the
Okay,
literary
so
industry.
wait here. So you talking about romance?
Yes.
I'm talking about the whole bookstore.
But
That's where you
I'm
got me
telling you right
confused.
now that romance carries the literary industry. So if I walk into a bookstore, majority of the shelves are romance.
Okay, I get that, but I'm talking about published authors. Period. I'm not
Mm.
talking about genre.
Okay.
There's no white store in America where you gonna walk in and it's 50-50. Ain't gonna happen. They got way more authors than us in every genre.
I mean
But the urban would be the only genre we got if you're gonna do that.
that's your that's your thought, and I have mine. I can't tell you you wrong, and you can't tell me my
I
experience.
will tell you you're wrong. You are wrong. They
Okay.
have way more authors than us, sister. I've been in bookstores for 30 years. They got way
Okay.
more books.
All right. If that's how you feel, okay. I'm not knocking. I'm not knocking anything you
All right.
said.
All right. All right.
I'm
Let's
not.
move on from that.
I'm only saying what I see as a reader. I'm
I'm
only
telling you
saying
what,
what
it's
I
sister.
see as a reader.
Sister, they've been publishing books for a long time. I've been in publishing houses. They'll have 3 black authors and 30 white authors. Like, all right, let's keep it moving.
It's no bad feelings. I like the conversation. It's not even.
They
I'm
got
not.
more authors than we got, sister. They, in every genre but urban, because that's
I
the
know.
one
I
that.
know that.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
know that.
All right.
And nowadays some white authors use urban.
Okay.
I'm just saying. And look, this is out of respect. This is not disrespectful, and I'm cool with this
Yeah, but
conversation.
I'm saying it's like it's not an opinion. They have more authors than we have. It's not an opinion. It's not a
Okay,
perspective. It's not. It's what I
okay.
was saying earlier. We gotta have the facts right. It's not an opinion. They have more authors than we have. They write more. Come on, they got more journalists than we have. You know. Now we have a lot of black journalists on BET and not BET, ESPN, because we love sports. But they
Mm.
have more journalists. They got more people. All right.
I see it from the indie and the traditional, but I digress. I digress.
All right.
Let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like some authors that influence you with your writing? What about them resonated with you? What about these authors that influenced you, and that writers that you liked resonated with you?
Richard Wright was serious.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a serious personality. That's why
Mm-hmm.
I don't let nothing fly. I don't he ha ha. It's all
Mm-hmm.
he was serious, and so
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Chester Himes was serious, and he
Mm-hmm.
wrote a whole lot of Harlem stories. He was different. He was honest. He was
Mm-hmm.
honest. It was embarrassing. Chester Himes was so honest. So I love
Mm-hmm.
the honesty. Iceberg Slim was super intelligent with his hood. Because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times we get people that say that word street smart. Not smart without the adjective. They got to use street because if you say smart to a black person without the adjective, they start thinking that nerd thing. And it's where, again, Iceberg Slim was very intelligent, but with black men, as soon as you stay smart, or you think you want to, we beat each other up so bad for being intelligent. So we got to put the adjective on the front, street smart, right? But yeah, Iceberg, I love his intelligence and I love his street acumen. He had all the words, he had all the breakdown. So I really love Iceberg. Then I look at Toni Morrison, would
Mm-hmm.
not water down her content. When
Right.
black people first started reading in the 90s, Toni Morrison said it's great that they're reading, but I'm not watering down my work. If you because you had a whole lot of black writers or readers rather start reading, I don't understand her because they
Mm-hmm.
was reading too much simple stuff, too much easy stuff. And they want stuff that, and I'm like, look here, I understand it because you got to elevate your brain when you reading Toni Morrison stuff. But you had some people that didn't want to do that. I said, yeah, she's not going to water down her stuff for you. You got to
Mm-hmm.
elevate for her. So I agree with that, and I love her work. And then you got Walter Mosley is one of the baddest cats from this new era, man. He's his description, his angles, his stories, his politics. Walter's a bad dude. And then I like Octavia Butler for her science fiction. She got a
One of
book
my
called
favorite
Wild Seed
authors.
that is absolutely excellent. And then Terry McMillan kicked down the doors. She kicked
Mm-hmm.
the doors in for all of us, and she has an attitude. And again, she had an attitude that benefited us because
Mm-hmm.
she gonna tell a person what she needed to tell them. She didn't go in there soft, feminine. No, she came in there kicking doors down, and we need that type of attitude to get them doors open. You know what I mean? Sister Soldier got that type of attitude. I got that type of. So you can't have weak stepping. If you talking about kicking doors in and opening stuff up. So those are the 6 or 7. You know what I mean? There's a whole lot of authors that put stuff, but I can't be listing people forever. Those are the old legends that I really love that opened up, what I needed to do when I do my own writing.
So, what are some of the mistakes you made earlier in your career that you advise new authors to avoid?
I would say when you get the money, always, because I thought I was going to keep going and keep blowing and get in the movie game. When you get the money, you get good math. Go ahead and get in the real estate. You got to grab something that's always going to be there. Because I wasn't in the real estate back then. I'm going to get into it now because real estate will hold your value more than anything. So I always talk about the money because sometimes you got some people that got in real estate. There's another sister from Philly named Miyasha, and she
Mm-hmm.
got into real estate immediately in Atlanta, and they doing real well. So I would tell people if you start getting money, don't start buying. You start get that house first. Get another house because houses hold money more than money do. You got
Mm-hmm.
money in the bank. They respect your house more than they respect your money in the bank. So that's what I would tell all authors. And then you got to market and travel. You got to market, get your book out there. You can't stay in one place. Travel all around the country, travel out of the country to make sure people know your work. But when you get that money, make sure you invest it in housing because that's the most, consistent economics that you're going to have.
So, let me ask you this. I read a lot of indie authors. One of my favorite indie authors is E. Bowser, Mo Flames, and some of my male favorite authors is Sylvester Bartsey, Cartier. So Makai Rain. So, have you read any indie authors that's been out in the last, I don't know, 3 years or so? Have you read any of them? And if you have, who are they? Even traditional.
Ashley Ashley and Jaquavis was the
Mm-hmm.
last brand that, because it gets too much. So I went away from books. I was trying to do films. And
Mm-hmm.
now it's just too many. You don't know who to read. There's just too many out there. Now you got the social media stuff. So yeah, you don't read like you used to when reading was a thing. Now you got all these distractions in a way, and there's so many people. I don't know who to read now. We had a list. We had Essence magazine. We had this. We had a list of people. We had other people talking. I was in stores more. I was around other authors more. When social media took over, we don't have the same platforms and stuff. So I don't know who to read. I don't even know these names. It's the same thing with hip hop. My son grew up in hip hop online. I don't know these people. I grew up with hip hop on radio like you did. So we knew all the artists.
Mm-hmm.
Even when Chief Keef first came out, everybody knew him. Now they got artists coming out of Chicago. I ain't never heard of these dudes. So yeah, it's too hard for me to know all the new guys. You're online and whatnot in the social media. I'm not online like that. So and even if I am online, it'll be any, mini, miny, mo for me because I don't know who they are.
Well, actually, it's book clubs. Black book clubs are the ones that it's not even just social media, it's the black book clubs that actually give you lists. There's black reviewers that are on here that give you lists that have different genres that they read.
Good
So
deal.
even though this is the social media era, it makes it easier. So you can go
Right.
to Black Book Talk and be like black paranormal, black urban fiction, black contemporary romance, and there'll be a list of authors that come up because there are black readers that are doing reviews of the book and giving you detailed description of said books. So it's
Yeah.
easier. So
Yeah.
that's why I was wondering what type of books do you like or have read in the past 3 years from indie authors or even traditionally published authors?
Well, I think if you think about some old head rappers, they
Mm-hmm.
didn't heard so much Yeah, I've had so much content. It just,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It just wears you out. So the books I'm thinking about now, to be honest with you, international. I got a book on Trinidad and Tobago. I want to write about the Nigerians. I just told you about the Brazilian book. I want to write about, blacks in France. We just had a French Olympics. France is like 80% black now. It's crazy. I want to write a book about Shanghai and China. I want to write about Middle East. I want to write South Africa. I want to go to Australia. So I'm going to write about stories that are more, because I've written all the stories, I've heard all the stories. I'm 56 years old in April. So it's like so I'm trying to spread my wings and expand my brain cells to bring us stories from other places. Because the Nigerians are the biggest hustlers that we got from Africa, and I'm very interested in their stories now. So me reading the same, urban, I've been done, man. To be honest with you,
But
I
it's
want to
just
read
not
other stuff.
urban though. It's just not
Say it
urban
again.
because it's just not
Yeah, it's
urban
everything. Yeah,
because you have authors like Kenya Wright, who is an interracial and multicultural author who is black, and she travels the world writing her books about different countries
right.
that are in the romance sphere. But she's a black author, and she Tiffany Patterson, Theodora Taylor, these
Yeah.
women they are six-figure authors. They travel the world and they write stories about different countries and different aspects of those
And you
countries.
got that list. You got that list. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't have a list. So, I'm not searching around like you're searching. I'm looking at how can I get this movie deal done? How can I so sometimes you get thing with not Sister Soldier. Terry McMillan is doing film stuff. So what happens is when you're already in the game, you're not going to be reading everything because you can't. Every time I go to an event, if it's 12 authors there, I'm coming home with 15. They give them to me. After a while, you're like, yo, I can't read everything. You can't. So you are reading and you're in that lane. With me, it's like after a while, it's like, yo, I need to clear my head. I can't read everything. Literally, I was at an event yesterday. I didn't go to an event. Dude wrote a couple books. He gave the two books. They're on my floor right now. I grabbed the two books. So it's like every time I go somewhere, right, I get books all the time. So it's like I got libraries and didn't ask for them. I can't read everything. I wanted to watch the Super Bowl yesterday. My Eagles is on. Now I'm tired. So yeah, it's like I don't read. And this is what I tell people all the time when they try to get me to read. I can't read everybody's stuff. Get regular readers. I'm working on stuff, and it's not to hurt your feelings, but it's like I'm working on stuff that I'm working on already. In
Mhm.
fact, authors used to tell me that. They used to get Terry McMillan, and Terry would say, Omar, I'm working on a book right now. I don't have time. And I respected that because I'm an author. So we don't have time to read everybody's work. When we have off time, now I can read. I read a lot more when I was first doing it. But when you get older, I got to be honest with you, you got to have the time to read and you got to set that time across because you're always working on stuff and right now, I'm definitely in the fourth row of making sure this fly growth thing. Every day, I'm mapping out how I can work social media. So even if I read something, I'm going to be distracted right now because I'm not focused on that read. I'm focused on what do I need to do to get these social media people. So when you're already a writer and you're already doing, you can't watch every game as a basketball player, a football player. So sometimes you ask them, you watch other when I get a chance to. But otherwise, I'm working out on my skills. I'm working out with my team. So it's one of those deals where you just can't read every. I had libraries and stuff of everybody's work in the 90s and the early 2000s. It's now 2025. I can't do it all. But for
Well,
you, as a reader, you bringing people on the podcast, that's your lane. I can't read everybody's content. I don't know who they are.
I mean, different eras, because I know a lot of authors that write, they read. It's about it's just which it's your preference. It's your
Yeah,
preference.
yeah,
You know, um
Well,
I
again, I've read everything. It's like right now, I'm not in a space of reading right now. You know what I mean? Like I used to read a book a week. You know, when I was first starting. So you got to understand the space of where you're at. Now
mm,
you're already, if you're doing podcasts and you love books, then that's your lane. I'm not doing podcasts, so you know what I mean. So I'm not in the lane where I gotta have a book. I'm in a lane right now where I'm like, how do I move these books forward to get filmed? So that's where my concentration is.
I mean, my lane is, yes, podcasting. My lane is also doing book events with my business partner. My lane is my own nightclub that I'm building. My lane is, I have many hats that I wear, but
Right,
the one thing that gives me pause is to take a good book and read it.
right,
And so, regardless of everything that I have going on, the one thing that brings me joy, that brought me into this space in the first place, is the books. You
right,
know, so I will always um take time to read. I'm not
right.
saying you have to, because I understand authors are very busy, and I
No, I'll
understand.
read, but you talking about specific authors and stuff because I'm
No, I'm
reading books.
talking
Okay.
across the board. Across the board, I
Oh well, no,
have.
you said authors. If you at first you phrased the question, do you read the and you started listing
Yeah,
authors,
yeah,
yeah. But as far as
yeah,
reading, yeah, I gotta read books on like certain stuff I'm putting to get business book. So yeah, you still reading, but you first phrased the question. You talk about the new authors. I don't know all of them. I
yeah.
don't have a list.
No, it's not about having the list. I just was curious to know what authors that you have read in the past 3 years that were indie authors or traditionally published authors that
Right,
you might shock me and tell me a new author. So I
right.
wanted to know, what were these authors
Not in the
that you
last
read?
3 years. Not in
Okay.
the last 3 years.
Okay. Well, how can people get your book? Could you explain to us the rollout of the books, and how we'll be able to get these books, and what can we all expect from this re-release?
They type in fly grow on their cell phone. The cell phones are amazing. Type in fly grow on the cell phone. They're going to start popping up the new book. You know what I mean? So with Simon, then I have the pre-orders on my all my sites. So it's on my TikTok site. It's going to be on my Instagram site. It's on my Facebook site. So if they hit any of my sites and all the new content we're pushing out, we're pushing the pre-order links everywhere. But this is where you have to work social media. But they said, well, you only got 10. That's why I was saying earlier. You only got 10,000 followers. I gotta ask people to help spread the word because I only got 10,000 followers. So you can only do what you can do. So the
Mhm.
link is there, but I ain't got, so you got to go to my stuff to get the link at my stuff, or somebody else has the link. But yeah, that's the problem with the new social media. If nobody has the link because you can't get to them, then that's a problem for your marketing. So that's always going to be a problem. How do I get the more people to know what I have out here?
You can always get a PR team that works with the readers. We have readers that own PR teams that push out books, events, and stuff like that for the authors, and they're very successful in doing it.
Okay, good deal. Yep. So I'm working with people like that now.
Okay.
Yep.
So where are we going to get any book signings?
The summer's June. I'm setting up the tour now. We start in Philadelphia June the 5th. It's a Thursday night library event. I'm trying to get to the Schomburg Center. I need a Chicago library. I'm still trying to get Chicago. They got a downtown spot on Michigan Avenue that's
I
that's
know
hot. I got to go down there.
the Hair
So,
Washington
again,
Library.
I'm setting up the tour now. In fact, I got to call Chicago tomorrow to start setting that up. I got the East Coast set up already. I don't have Atlanta yet. I got Miami, I got DC, I got Baltimore, I got Virginia, I got New York. Again, that Schomburg, they always tough in Harlem. Can't get nobody to answer the phone. But yeah, the tour is going to be June and July, and then I'm probably fade it out in August. So June and July, I'm gonna hit 30 cities, including the West Coast, and I'm setting that up now. But yeah, that's the stuff that takes away a lot of your time when you're setting up, making phone calls. You get tired. So the reading thing I don't have is because then you use an active energy. So but yeah, you do more internet stuff now with information. I got to get all these new ads. It's just so much distractions, dude. So sometimes you need to cut that stuff off to get back to reading.
True, 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 true. So, anything else you want us to know before we get out of here?
No, thanks for inviting me on. I'm on TikTok at omartyree.com. Instagram is only one, the number one, omartyree.com. Facebook is omartyree.com. LinkedIn, and then what's the other one? X. I'm on that one too. All Omar Tyree. So Instagram is the only one where it's only one, the numeral one, only one Omar Tyree on Instagram. And that's where you can find out all the information on the book, including the new covers for Fly Girl, For the Love of Money, and Boss Lady. And when I start promoting the t-shirts, the hoodies, the slippers, the cell phone, protectors, and the perfume, we're going to do that all through my social media sites. And then people who are on my team can then sell it too for commission. So we're going to be looking for people who can hustle and sell, because I can't do it all. And we talking about women's clothing and women's content. So I'm going to have some models too who are going to start doing a social media model thing, talking about the clothes, modeling the clothes. And I don't have a whole bunch of swimsuits. We ain't doing swimsuits, you know what I mean? But we got regular people that's going to put regular clothes on. But it ain't about no swim. You know we don't swim that much anyway.
Oh my God. Okay. So I
You
appreciate.
know we don't swim that much. Sisters ain't going near the swimming
No,
pool.
I don't. You know what? I'm gonna say this. I
Good.
don't know who you been hanging around. I know a hell of a lot of people that swim.
And you think they gonna put a whole outfit on with their hair done and their nails and jump in the pool?
Hell yeah, I would. Hell
You would. Did you see that? Chicago, she
yeah.
would. She's a boss military woman. These women that's taking pictures in these outfits or swimsuits are not going near the pool. That swimsuit is for vanity and fashion. It ain't for the pool.
Boy,
It
child,
ain't for the pool. It ain't for the pool.
bruh. You know what? I'm gonna say this before we get out of here. I need to meet you in person, to talk to
In
you in
Chicago.
person in Chicago, because you are wild. I need to talk to you in person.
I'm glad you brought that up. We talk about being artists. When
Mm.
people are not, if you're not brave, you can't, because whatever you say, when I put stuff in books, I'm standing on that. So if you actually meet other authors, sometimes they're quieter. I'm a Philadelphian, so I'm gonna say it, but they all have it. And I'm gonna tell you the difference. When I'm in the green room with other authors, they letting all their egos out there talking, I did this number, I did that. Then they go out in public on the podium after the green room. Oh, I'm so thankful for God. I appreciate you. And I'm like, the same person that was talking smack in the green room, get on the podium and then go reversal. Oh, I'm so appreciative. But you didn't hear how they was talking in the green room. So I'm telling you, a whole lot of authors and artists and all that, they have to have confidence in what they're doing and what they say, and they stand on it. That's why they put it in the book. But yeah, a lot of times they play the politics game.
I could promise you anything I say about you, I'm gonna say in your face.
Was what?
I said anything I say about you, I'm gonna say in your face. I can promise you that.
Yeah, you. I'm talking about I've been in green room with other authors. I'm telling you, where they act that game in front of the public, but at
Mm.
the closed doors, they bragging and I'm like, whoa. But I'll say it. I'm like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'll say it out there in public. That's what I'm telling you. Yeah, so you do a lot of stuff where you talking about you. I
Yeah.
do a lot of stuff where I'm talking about a lot of other. I'm there because every time it's like I don't do this. I'm talking about what I've
Mm.
observed from my community.
Okay.
Yeah, because you
Okay.
keep bringing up your. Go ahead.
Before we get out of here,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I talk from the experience of a black woman. So
Right.
my experience is my experience. I cannot talk about other people. I cannot say anything about anyone else. So
Well, I do.
therefore,
I
when I
do.
say myself, I can
Right.
only speak from myself, my own point of view. I can't actually sit up here and say that woman over there did that. No, I
Right.
can only say what I do, what I observe as a black woman, and what I'm doing at this moment. So
Right.
I can never speak about another woman and what's in her pockets, her life, or what she got going on with her man or behind closed doors. I can
Right.
only speak about me. So when you hear me talking about me, it's because I'm
Right.
talking about me. Because I
Right.
know about me.
But this is what I'm telling you. With me being an author, I've written 32 books now.
Hmm.
Were they all about me?
I don't know. Did you answer that? Were they about you? Were they experiences that you went through or saw?
Let me ask you the question again. If
Hmm.
I wrote 32 books, I'm
Hmm.
just asking you, do you think I wrote 32 books about me?
I don't know because I'm not in your head.
All right, so I'm gonna say this. It's what they call altruism and existentialism, where you go outside of yourself to
Hmm.
understand other people. Okay. And so when I was a freshman at University of Pittsburgh, we had a forum with all freshmen. And there was a suburban dude who was trying to explain himself to other freshmen. I understood what he was trying to say, and I immediately said, what he's trying to say is a girl from Philadelphia, from North, like you, she was
Mm.
like, how you gonna say, Omar, what he's saying? And I asked the brother, I said, did I say what you were saying? He said, yeah, you pretty much summed it up. If you don't have the skills, as I have, to write, am I a girl? Am I a
No,
girl? But I
no,
wrote Fly Girl and they loved it, right?
yeah,
So I wrote about it, but I'm not a girl. So I got all this credit for writing about because I understand how to write that other person. That is a gift, it's a skill. Okay, so
yeah,
when I speak, I even have a column right now that says the black man's perspective. And a lot
mm,
of guys were saying, you should say a black. I said, no. I play football. I'm in the biggest locker room. Football is the biggest locker room of sports where I'm listening to other men and I get it. I understand it. So when I speak for other people, I'm on point for other people. I've been doing that forever. I have the most characters in my books. And they say that all the time. Why you got so many characters? Because I understand that many people. So yeah, a lot of people speak from the I when they write. They can't write from the we or the, and I say that all the time. So everything is a personal. And when they do that, I say you really only got 3 books in you. Because when you only write, even Terry McMillan had to wait for new stuff to happen for her to, because she writes so personal. So she had to wait. She can't write a book every year like I do. She gonna write a book every 3 to 5 years, wait for some new stuff to happen. So if you writing from the I, the personal perspective, you're not going to be able to do what Stephen King does. You're not going to be able to do what Anne Rice does. You're not going to be able to do what John Gresham does. You're not going to be able to do what Omar Tyree does. So it's what we do as individuals to understand humans and then say, I understand this type of human. Fly Girl is a type that I understand, but I'm not a woman. So yeah, I get that a lot when you say stuff, you coming from me or from you rather, I'm speaking in terms of the psychology of men, the psychology of women. And then you take it personal. Say, oh, this woman, I'm talking about a
I don't
whole
take
group of,
anything
okay, good.
personal.
Okay, good.
Before,
Good.
let
But yeah, I'm
let
talking about groups. I'm not talking about one individual.
well, let me learn you something real quick.
Go ahead.
I am a sociopath, right? Me, I'm a sociopath. So
What?
I do not express emotion the
Okay.
way most people do. So what
Okay.
you're saying to me, it kind of just rolls off of me.
Okay.
It is no emotion. It may seem like because I'm good at mimicking,
Yeah.
but the emotion part of it, no,
Right.
there's
Right.
none. But
Right.
I will state my opinion. Sometimes
Right.
it may come off crass and
Right.
sometimes it may come off mean, but
Right.
that's just me speaking from logically from
Right.
in my head because that's how I think.
Right.
So therefore, when you say things like that, it's not emotion. That's just me
Right.
speaking logically because that's what I think.
Right. Well,
So,
I think you said the right word, opinions. And see, again, I'm gonna go back. I have a degree in journalism,
mm-hmm,
so I was doing articles
mm-hmm,
based on research, and I was good at it. I graduated top of my class, so when I do books, I didn't have to do research on Fly Girl. I'm from
mm-hmm,
Philly. I wrote a book called Single Mom in Chicago.
mm-hmm.
You think I wrote that book without visiting Chicago? Then you're gonna say you don't know. But that I'm
No,
trying to set you up. I'm trying to, because I just told you I'm not gonna write about you. That
I
that
was
would be
gonna say
idiotic. Go ahead.
you have more emotion than I would have thought that you would have. You
Yeah.
just got through talking about the women having emotion, but
Oh yeah.
you have a lot of emotion.
I'm artistically passionate.
Okay. And
All artists you have, because that's what you create from. If you don't have the emotion, logical men is just. I got a logical dude right now I talk to every day. We
mm-hmm,
battle every day because
mm-hmm,
he talks about numbers every day that has nothing to do with the art. And every day he's like, just give it up, just give it. And I'm like, yo, dude, because I understand he's not going to explain it. He's going to say we made money. I
mm-hmm,
gotta explain this shit because I wrote it. So I'm like, yo, dude, you just gonna say we made money. I gotta explain it. And so that's the emotion you're talking about. Richard Wright will be emotional.
mm-hmm,
Alex Haley will be emotional. Malcolm X will be emotional. So when you're trying to do something, you're gonna have emotion. The businessmen, they are the worst kind of when they don't have any emotions.
mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Because I can be logical, but when I protect black people, it's emotional. Because logic will say, I ain't doing that. I'm gonna
Well,
get killed.
well, I can honestly say I've met a lot of emotional men, especially being in the military. I
Yeah.
met a lot of prideful, emotional men who try to put me in my place
Right.
because I lack the emotion that they are trying to get out of me.
Okay.
So I like people to express themselves. I like people to have conversations with me where we can go back and forth.
Right.
It doesn't phase me. But what
Right.
I will always stand 10 toes down on is that everybody is individually different. I
Right.
cannot, for all the Marines and soldiers that were I was responsible for, I could not tell you how every last one of them felt. When
Right.
I went to Iraq, I could not tell you how everyone felt. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? When I was going through college, I could not tell you how everyone's felt.
Right.
But I can say I know certain people and their mannerisms and how they carry themselves. I
Right.
can say that.
Right.
But me, so all I can go off is me.
Right.
Me, Levada, me, Storm, me. I can only go off of me and my own experience.
Right.
So me always saying about me is because
Right.
I can't tell anybody else's story because I don't know it.
Right. Well, I'm not talking for just us when I talk, because if you can put me on the show, I'm gonna talk for black men. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
speak, and any black man say you gonna speak for me, I'm gonna fill it off, and I say, yo, brother, you can't speak the things that need to be spoken. I can't. That's why I'm here. So I'll say that. And somebody, well, you come, and that's that new generation. He don't speak for me, and we get 1,000. I'm like, yo, dude. At the end of the day, somebody got to say something that makes sense, right? That
Mm-hmm.
stand. So at the end of the day, but I got more emotional as I got older because you have to fight more battles. Like even with the Hollywood thing, when I first started going out there, like the early 2000s, I was less emotional.
Mm-hmm.
After you get in like 50 meetings and they doing the same, then you start getting pissed off. You end up more emotional because either you're going to have no emotion or you
Mm-hmm.
end up to it goes. But when I first went out there, I was like, hey man, let me go do, you know what I mean? You all optimistic and stuff. And after a
Mm-hmm.
while, like, we're not going to do this movie because of this. Your movie don't. After you get like 20, 30 of them, now you don't have that same optimistic, jovial, So yeah, life can wear you out where it's like, now you got to fight harder. You know what I mean? Like Will Smith going through what he went through, you got to fight harder now. You know what I mean? You get more emotional. Yeah,
I think black people are in a constant state of fighting. We are in a constant state of activism. We are in a
yeah,
constant state of protest. We are always fighting. But
yeah,
at the same time, we are also one in
yeah.
the men and women. So therefore the fight is always going to happen. So that's just what it is. So I when you say you speak for black men, all black men are not the same.
I know that, but I never said we all the same. You
Right,
talk
but I'm
about
saying when
when
you
we
say
when
you
we
speak
first
for
when we first started talking about you
mm-hmm,
got some black men that could take that boss stuff. You got one that could take it. You got a whole lot of hear that word immediately like I ain't messing with her. I'm telling you, I'm around them all the time, and so that's the thing that when you're around guys, like I can hang up with you and call 20 guys right now, and they'll tell me like, yo man, when they talk. So I'm telling you, like I'm a journalist. Like
I'm
that's where you get
around
the information from.
I'm around men all the time.
Yeah.
I am around men all the time, and
Yeah, but
not
if you for my thing is you start looking at type because he's different. Everybody's different, but you got to have some common ground. Okay, these guys are tall. These guys are short. These guys are athletes. You got to have because if you do every individual, then now you can't write every. Well, you write the character. Each character is going to be his own person anyway. But I would never be able to speak about black men anything. Then I would always say some black men, a few black. At the while, it's like, yo, man, just say black men. And then the ones that I'm different, all right, you different. Like if I say black men don't like to read fiction, I'm gonna look you dead in your face. Black men don't like to read fiction. Now I'm gonna say that as a group, but I know brothers that ain't ever read. They grew up with me, ain't never read my books ever, right? But if I say that, some black men get offended. But I'm like, yo, brother, you get offended all you want. I grew up with, I got brothers and uncles that ain't never read. Brothers in jail were the main readers of my books because they locked in jail. They can't run around. Now they got time. They come out of jail with much respect for me. But the
mm.
brothers who are free got no respect because they don't know my work. They don't know my name.
Well, that's crazy because
It's the reality.
I can honestly say that a lot of the men that I know that have college educations have read your book and
That's
was
good.
excited about me interviewing you.
Oh, that's
So it's
good.
that's why I
Power to
said
them brothers.
That's why I said you can't say all men.
But see, I never said all. I just say men. I don't say all
But
because
when you
now you
say
quantifying
you should
all.
say that in a general term,
I
not.
don't use the general sense because I want it to hit the people. When you start saying, because that's when you get too political, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people stop liking Sister Harris, where she gonna change for the Hispanics. She gonna change. After a while, it's like, yo, what is your message for the people in general? You can't keep some few. Say what it is, and if it don't hit you, explain why it didn't hit you.
Oh,
But
you
I'm gonna
talking
say what
about
it is.
VP Harris?
Say it again.
You talking about VP Harris?
Yeah, they just talk about how much she jumped around depending on who she's speaking to. You see what I'm talking? Which all politicians do that. But that was one of the offenses that some of these brothers had with her. She's not standing any ground, so I don't know what she's going to do. If she's going to go this way, but all politicians do that.
Okay. On that note, we gonna stop because that we gonna agree to disagree on that.
But see that, but that's not my opinion. That's from coming from brothers to say she was jumping around. That's not my opinion. Again, when you talking about men, this is the conversation that this is men. Some brothers don't vote at all. I voted for her. She's a Howard alum. But I'm telling you, and this is where when you say you don't get emotional, when you say honesty, and that's the thing. It's like
The
I'm going to
reason
be
why I
honest.
was saying
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut it
What?
short because I was looking down at the comments. So
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna cut it
All right.
short. Believe me, I
All right.
wasn't getting emotional. I
All
was
right.
looking at the
No,
comments,
but
and
yeah, men that didn't vote for, I voted for her. But I'm telling you, as a journalist, what men were saying, she was jumping all around. I've heard that from plenty. I've seen podcasts where brothers are saying that. So I'm just reporting. So I don't get mad at the reporter. I'm reporting on me having ears and saying this is what the brothers were saying, and they didn't vote for her because I was trying to get my friends to vote. Like, go vote for her, man. And they, oh, she's doing this. I'm just telling you what it is.
I get that, and I
Okay.
get that. But on this podcast, we gonna keep it about books because I want people to buy your books.
Yeah.
We gonna keep
Okay,
it
so
about.
you got a whole pass to cut. I voted for the sister. You know what I mean? Like, you don't beat me up for saying that other brothers didn't vote for her because I voted for her. I'm a Howard dude.
All
All right.
right. But thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. This was a very enlightening conversation. I appreciate you as an author. I do think you are the originator of urban. Thank
Thank you.
you for making the genre. Thank you for what you have done. And I appreciate you so much. I look forward to meeting you in Chicago so we can have a one-on-one conversation. And
We got to get a library. I got to hit you up to see what library, one of the
now
biggest
why you
libraries
gotta
in
hit
Chicago.
me up?
Well, you already in Chicago. You a boss lady. I figure you can make it happen.
You're gonna have to ask me nicely. See, mm-hmm.
I would love to come to Chicago and do a big library event like I'm doing in Philly, in DC, in Newport News, in Atlanta, in Miami. And I haven't been able to find a library in Chicago to get them on the phone yet. But I would love to do that. If you
We
could
will
help me,
talk.
that would be wonderful.
We will talk offline.
Okay.
You have my number. You can call me,
All
and we
right.
can talk about it.
Because I don't have that date set yet. I know it's going to be, I think, July the 17th to the 20th is in that area. Because I got to be in Cleveland the 21st. So I'm trying to do Chicago and Detroit. It's right next to each other, 2 hours away, 3 hours, whatever it is. Yeah, but I'm going to do both of those.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll talk. We'll
All
talk.
right.
All right. So thank you once again, and have an amazing night.
Chicago.